Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 53. The Wisdom of Zhenji. That night, a forest of torches lit up the drill grounds. The three corpse ghosts that had fallen in battle were locked up in iron cages, but they still struggled in the direction of the city's exterior. Li Jinglong, Zhang Hao, and a lieutenant named Wu Shuang were keeping watch over these corpse ghosts that had died in battle. Quite a few of the troops had left the city during the night, and the weapons they had picked up were scattered on the ground. "How's the old general's condition?" Li Jinglong asked as he ducked his head, studying the weapons. "Very bad," Zhang Hao responded. "His condition's grown even more serious. Zhenji, you have to go get the military command tally. Otherwise, we'll have no way to send out the troops of Liangzhou City." Li Jinglong asked, "Are there no other people who are able to use the command tally under the general's command?" "Lieutenant General Wang has also fallen ill," Wu Shuang said. "He's been sent back to the estate to rest." "What about within the rank under that?" Li Jinglong asked again. Wu Shuang and Zhang Hao didn't say any more. Li Jinglong understood. Geshuhan was probably usually very cautious, and aside from his trusted subordinate surnamed Wang, no one else was allowed to hold the command tally. "But you can," Zhang Hao said. "You have a personal letter written by the Crown Prince, so you can temporarily borrow the command tally. With the current situation, it's more appropriate for the troops to stay where they are, unless the corpse ghosts attack the city," Li Jinglong replied absently. "Trust me, if the soldiers head out of the city to exchange blows with the enemy, they'll only die faster." Wu Shuang and Zhang Hao exchanged a glance, and the two of them no longer persisted in pushing their idea. "Look at these weapons." Li Jinglong picked up a blade and lifted it to the light, gesturing for Zhang Hao to take a closer look. There was a distinct black trace on it, as if it had been dipped in poison. Zhang Hao stayed silent. Li Jinglong continued, "Then look at these three yaoguai. The one on the left has unmarred skin, with only its skin color having withered, like that of a dried corpse's. The middle one's condition is more severe, there's a hole through its abdomen, and a lot of its innards have fallen out. The one on the right is in the worst shape." Li Jinglong used that long blade to lift up its arm. The flesh and skin on that arm had already long since rotted away, revealing the gray-black bones of the hand. Wu Shuang said, "The armor they're wearing also has differences." Li Jinglong nodded. "The relatively untouched one's armor is heavy and more complicated, while the one in the worst condition has armor that barely covers its body. So within the corpse ghost army, they also split themselves into different ranks. From the 100-man commander down, there's the 10-man commander, the 5-man squad leaders, and the ordinary cavalry riders." Everyone sank into silence. At this time, more city guards fished out corpse ghosts from the river, covered in ice. Li Jinglong said, "The weapons of the corpse ghosts are covered with a strange poison, so if we are to cross swords with them again, make sure to be prepared, that's the first thing. As for the second, we must find their weaknesses." Zhang Hao took a look at the corpse ghosts that were frozen over, and he suggested, "Ice." "Not bad," Li Jinglong replied. "After they're splashed with cold water, the ice that forms can cause their bodies to stiffen up, slowing down their movements. There's another tactic that will work, which is fire." Wu Shuang nodded. He poured kerosene into the cage, setting that corpse ghost on fire, and the flames instantly engulfed it. It didn't let out any mournful cries, nor did it struggle, it met its end by flame silently and calmly. Hung Jun couldn't bear the sight, but Li Jinglong said to him, "You must think about it this way, even if they enter the ground again, they won't be able to obtain peace. With this, at least they can be freed." When Hung Jun thought about it, that was true. These soldiers had fought to preserve their countries and their families while they were still alive, but they never would have expected that after they died, they would be so cruelly turned into the murderers of their own people. "What about the third tactic?" Zhang Hao asked thoughtfully. "Prepare the defenses," Li Jinglong said. As for those people who have already been poisoned, I'll think of another way to deal with it. With that, Zhang Hao and Wu Shuang hurried off to find people to help prepare the defenses. Li Jinglong and Hung Jun were left standing on the drill grounds, observing the leftover 2 corpse ghosts that fell in battle. Hung Jun looked at the corpse ghosts, then to Li Jinglong, whose forehead was faintly furrowed as a thoughtful light appeared in his gaze. This was the point that Hung Jun admired the most about him. He couldn't understand how Li Jinglong thought through things at all. From one thing to another, every time, he analyzed things in detail, with all traces of emotion wiped from his face. Hung Jun felt that he was amazingly strong. That was a kind of internal strength, a courage that could not be quenched even in the face of the harshest trials. Now, Hung Jun wholly believed that Li Jinglong could save the lives of Emorigen and everyone else. It must have been at the moment that Geshuhan collapsed that Li Jinglong figured out where the problem was. Just like in the Fox Yao case, he had then taken step after step to obtain the necessary evidence, and in the end, he was likewise going to turn the tables. Hung Jun didn't rush him, nor did he leave. He only stood to one side, keeping Li Jinglong company. After a long while, Li Jinglong suddenly asked, "How do you think they distinguish their companions from everyone else?" Hung Jun. He thought about it and said, "The corpse ghosts have long since died, so they shouldn't be able to smell anything." "Wu," Li Jinglong responded. "Perhaps they're able to see." Most of the corpse ghosts didn't have pupils, only murky, white eyeballs. But those eyeballs had been constantly moving, so they were probably able to more or less see. "Can they hear?" Hung Jun asked. Li Jinglong picked up a metal basin and smacked it, dang, next to the corpse ghost's ear from where he stood behind it. That noise would have deafened a human, but the corpse ghost didn't turn at all, continuing to focus its efforts on slamming into the metal cage. It was clear that they couldn't hear at all. Li Jinglong then picked up a torch and waved it in front of the corpse ghost a few times. The corpse ghost lifted its hands warily, before making a chopping motion. "They can see," Li Jinglong said in the end. "They can feel the light." Hung Jun said, "I'm curious, what do you think they're thinking about in their heads?" "They have no way to open their mouths and speak," Li Jinglong responded. "This is something only the heavens know. Let's try one more thing." He took off his outer robe, to which Hung Jun asked, "What are you doing?" Li Jinglong gestured for Hung Jun to come over and help, before he put on the armor of that 100-man leader of the corpse ghosts. It actually fit him pretty well. Hung Jun had already seen him in Tang armor very often, but when he saw Li Jinglong wearing Han armor, despite it being rusted, he still looked very handsome and dashing. Li Jinglong bent over slightly, coming to a halt in front of the cage. That corpse ghost immediately grew alert, opening its rotting mouth to reveal its gums. "You've been recognized," Hung Jun said. "What if I give it a try? What if I dirty up my face?" Li Jinglong asked. Hung Jun. Hung Jun found some sticks of charcoal and smeared the soot all over Li Jinglong's skin, before moving the braziers nearby away. The sky was originally dark, and with this, Li Jinglong did indeed look like a corpse ghost. "I'll go in to try it out," Li Jinglong said. Hung Jun was extremely anxious as Li Jinglong gently opened the cage door and slipped in. The corpse ghost instantly noticed him, and with an enraged roar, it reached a hand out, swiping down towards Li Jinglong's head. Li Jinglong hurried to shout, "Stay calm," before he hastily scrambled out again. "Do you need to roll your eyes all the way up?" Hung Jun asked. "Like this." Li Jinglong did his best to show only the whites of his eyes. He remarked. "But with this, I can't see any more." Hung Jun said, "It's hard to say. What if, on an off chance, they can smell your scent?" Li Jinglong peeled the almost rotting clothes filled with stench off the other corpse ghost. He wore them over his armor, before rolling his eyes up to show the whites with great effort, once again clambering into the cage. The corpse ghost was still constantly kicking at the bars of the cage, wanting to leave this place. Li Jinglong copied it. Tilting his head and reaching out a hand, with his eyes rolled up, he half climbed, half squatted as he hung from the bars. You look so alike. Hung Jun praised him sincerely. The corpse ghost turned its head and glanced at Li Jinglong. Li Jinglong, still with his eyes rolled up, turned his head to look at that corpse ghost. One human and one corpse ghost locked gazes, though it was only for a brief moment, because after that, the corpse ghost didn't look at Li Jinglong again. It had worked. Li Jinglong tested out not rolling his eyes up anymore, and the corpse ghost didn't figure him out from that either. With that, the two of them could confirm that the corpse ghosts could see, and they could smell, but their hearing wasn't good. We'll set out in the depths of the night. Li Jinglong sniffed his own arm, and a wave of stench overcame him. I must go with you, Hung Jun said. Of course, Li Jinglong replied, smiling. When night fell, Hung Jun first went to see how EXORCISM was doing. The medicine that he had prescribed had some use, at least it made his body a little warmer, but EXORCISM was already close to being completely unconscious. As soon as Lu Su saw Hung Jun come, he latched onto him and wouldn't let go, not letting him leave. "Shh," Hung Jun said. "Zhenqi will save him. Rest assured, you rest assured." When Hung Jun finished looking over EXORCISM, he went to see Geshuhan. He found that Geshuhan had remained unconscious since he had taken the medicine, but the old madam was all right. She held Geshuhan's hand as she sat at his bedside, conversing quietly with the Carpiao. Hung Jun. Hung Jun almost leapt out of his skin. But just as he was about to explain, the old madam nodded at him, smiling gently. To one side, the Carpiao was speaking. If I was to leave Hung Jun, I don't know how he would fare, he doesn't understand anything. Hung Jun hurried to ask, Zhao Zilong hasn't frightened you ba? The old madam chuckled. How could it? I'm already over halfway to 100, and I've seen things that should be seen, and things that shouldn't. The outside is crawling with Yaogwai, is that right? This time we've got to rely on you all, but no matter what, you must be extremely careful. That's true, the Carpiao said. Our family's Hung Jun has even gotten rid of a Yao King, but it's hard to say if that Li Jinglong will slow him down. Hung Jun, watch out that Zhenqi doesn't cook you into soup. Hung Jun went up to take Geshuhan's pulse. After taking the medicine, his pulse had calmed somewhat, so it was obvious that the medicine had some effect. Though there was no way to cure him, the power of the medicine that quickened the blood had at least caused the patients to regain some body heat. At the same time, Li Jinglong was talking with Zhang Hao in the yard, and it seemed as if they were in conflict. In the end, Li Jinglong, with his brows furrowed deeply, hurried in, using his gaze to indicate to Hung Jun that it was time for them to go. Zhang Hao said anxiously, the old general hasn't shown his face for a day and a night. The rumors are spreading all through the city, to the point where they almost can't be quashed. Captain Zhang, Li Jinglong said seriously, they must be quashed. I'll go with you ba, the old madam said. Zhang Hao waved his hand, before asking Li Jinglong, where exactly are you all going? Li Jinglong only waved his hand to mean that he wouldn't say, before gesturing for Hung Jun to move out as fast as possible, pointing at the Carpiao to indicate that it was to follow them along as well. When the third gang came, the area around the city was completely silent. As soon as the Carpiao landed in the snow, it cried piteously, it's so cold. Quick, Hung Jun said. It's all up to you now, Zhao Zilong, don't you want to save people to gather merits? There are 400,000 lives in the city to save. The Carpiao hopped back and forth across the snow, saying, isn't there any easier way? Li Jinglong, I'll give you a pair of boots to wear. And saying this, he pulled out the boots that he had bought earlier at the market. After the Carpiao put the boots on, it said, it's much warmer now, but I'm still cold. Li Jinglong then pulled out that sheepskin bag tied with a drawstring, which he stuffed the carpiao into. There were a few holes cut on the sides, which were perfect for it to stick its hands and feet through and for its eyes to see from two sides. He then tied the string tight again. Hung Jun. Wear the arm warmers like pants. Li Jinglong had fully outfitted the carpiao, and with this, it didn't have any excuses left. Find the king of the corpse ghosts that fell in battle, Li Jinglong said. After you find it, remember its location and come back and tell me. Go ba. The carpiao could only obediently run out into the snowy field, vanishing into the distance like a wisp of smoke as it went to go find that corpse ghost king that Li Jinglong had described. With great patience, Li Jinglong sat down under the shadow of the city walls to wait. The wind blew towards them again, and Hung Jun leaned towards him a little. Both of them were wearing Han armor that emitted the putrid scent of corpses. This night was cruelly cold, and Li Jinglong spread out a blanket that he had brought, wrapping himself and Hung Jun together. Hung Jun smiled as he watched him, thinking of the first time he had seen Li Jinglong. He had also been wearing armor then, but why hadn't he seemed as handsome as he did now? What are you smiling about? Li Jinglong noticed Hung Jun. Hung Jun responded, not much. You look pretty good in metal armor, even though it's rusted. That's true, Li Jinglong said easily. Back in the day, who knows how many girls in Chang'an were entranced by your Gegan martial attire. You're becoming more and more shameless, Hung Jun said. Li Jinglong began to chuckle. Hung Jun remembered what the old madam had said. Back then, when she had met Geshuhan in his martial attire, she had fallen in love with him at first sight. Perhaps the young Geshuhan was not too different from Li Jinglong. Then how about me? Hung Jun asked. You, Li Jinglong looked him up and down. You'll do, you'll manage as my lieutenant. Hung Jun stuck out a hand from within the blanket. Fight me, and we'll see who's the lieutenant. It's cold, stop fooling around. Li Jinglong hurriedly pressed his hand down. Within the general's estate, it had already been almost 8 Shishan since Geshuhan and Amorigin had collapsed. Tonight, Liangzhou city was lit up with torchlight, but it was as silent as the grave. In the military barracks, the moans of the soldiers grew quieter and quieter. Towards the second half of the night, Amorigin's chest started to behave like a bellows, rising and falling, constantly making noise. Lu Su couldn't help growing anxious at that, and he ran out of the room, unconsciously trying to find Hung Jun to plead for him to help. Hung Jun! Lu Su shouted. He searched through the entire hall, before hurrying towards the main hall. As he ran, however, he gradually slowed, before coming to a stop. His face was rid with an expression of suspicion as he saw a shadow in the main hall. What's happened? The old madam turned her head and asked from her position in front of the bed, holding Geshuhan's hand. Zhang Hao stood in the hall, and he said, the corpse ghosts that fell in battle are going to attack the city. I need to obtain the command tally to use it. The general has yet to wake, and so he cannot give you the command tally, the old madam said, her brows furrowed deeply. Before Li Jinglong left, he said that he would bring the antidote back tonight. But Zhang Hao responded, Li Jinglong and Kong Hung Jun have already run off. The guards saw him leave the city in the night. Lu Su hid behind a shelf, watching Zhang Hao with an expression of doubt. The old madam said, the general has yet to wake, so I will go nowhere. Zhang Hao, where is Wu Shuang? Zhang Hao sucked in a deep breath and said quietly, old madam, Wu Shuang has also fallen ill. The situation is dire, I must send out the troops to do battle with the enemy outside the city as quickly as possible. The interior of the hall was silent. Finally, the old madam said, I cannot allow it. Zhang Hao's forehead was furrowed deeply as the old madam continued. I trust Li Jinglong and that child. Just now, I was actually listening to their exploits in Chang'an when they got rid of the Yao King. In such an unusual situation, Naturally there are unusual people who take care of it. You only need to guard your city properly. You have the power to defend the city, and as long as you don't send the troops out, the armies are yours to move around. Don't delude yourself into thinking that with a mortal's body, you can go fight the Yaoguai. Zhang Hao suddenly let out a cold chuckle. The old madam suddenly grew wary, and she lifted her head and glanced at him. Her voice trembled as she said, "Zhang Hao, what are you thinking? Are you trying to forcibly seize control?" Zhang Hao said darkly, "Old madam, I am a Yaoguai." In an instant, Zhang Hao let out a piercing roar, and his body began to make strange noises as it melted like mud. A coiling grey-green breath issued forth from his mouth, wrapping around her, and she could only let out a shrill cry, but because the old madam had been taken by surprise, she hadn't yet called out guards before the coils wrapped around her, blocking off her nose and mouth. Ah! In the blink of an eye, Lu Su rushed out from behind the cabinet, picking up a vase in his hand as he rushed towards Zhang Hao, whose body was slowly melting like mud. End chapter. Legend of Exorcism. Chapter 54. To catch thieves, first catch the ringleader. Never in his wildest dreams had Zhang Hao imagined that someone was there, just a little over 10 paces away from him. Under normal circumstances, if someone was trying to launch a sneak attack, they wouldn't let out a loud shout first, but this person had actually shouted loudly as he was ambushing him. Shouting was one thing, but that speed was really too quick. Just as the had left his mouth, a vase had already smashed into the back of Zhang Hao's head. Normal people would first let out an enraged die, before the weapons in their hands would come out, like lightning coming first before a peal of thunder. However, Lu Su's movements were like thunder and lightning coming together, and with his half-cry of "ah," came the vase flying towards him. Zhang Hao's attention was wholly focused on casting his magic. Caught off guard, that vase caved in the back of his head instantly, and he slammed face first onto the bed. "You're looking for death." Zhang Hao's entire body took on a mud-like consistency, revealing his ambiguous, monstrous original form. With a fierce shake, his body let out muddy glops as he turned and leapt towards Lu Su. Lu Su. This was the first time that Lu Su had seen this kind of Yaoguai. All he saw was Zhang Hao's clothes tearing to shreds, the color of his skin turning a golden brown as he spewed out a torrent of yellow-green mist. Lu Su hurried to take a step back before dashing behind the shelf filled with antiques, roaring, "Hung Jun dash!" Lu Su overturned that shelf, which instantly squashed the soft, mud-like monster that Zhang Hao had become right on the ground where it was trying to advance on him, but he hadn't expected that Zhang Hao's body had already turned into a large patch of mud. Like a moving swamp, his body crept over the shelf, sweeping towards Lu Su even as he spewed out more green mist. The sound startled the guards outside, and they rushed in, shouting, "Assassin!" Lu Su kept dodging backwards. As soon as the guards saw that mud monster, they all let out loud shouts of fright. Right after, that mud monster rushed forwards, leaping at two of the guards. The people that had been leapt upon howled until the end, but in an instant, all of the skin and flesh on their bodies rotted away. With a puff, that sludge spat out a few pieces of indigestible metal armor, before it once again crossed the threshold, surging towards Lu Su. With an expression of shock, Lu Su stared at that sludge, but he didn't flee. The sludge wasn't planning on letting him get away, speeding into the garden. The voices of the handmaidens drifted over. When they spotted the sludge, they screamed themselves hoarse as they turned to flee, but they too were engulfed by the mud monster. As the sludge consumed people, it kept chasing after Lu Su. A human head appeared out of the mud, taking the form of Zhang Hao's head. Lu Su didn't dare lead it anywhere with a lot of people, so he rushed into the garden. Searching around frantically, he found a shovel just as the sludge body and human head rushed towards him. Why are you not affected by this illness?" Zhang Hao cried hoarsely. "This is impossible." Saying this, It pulled out its two hands from within the sludge and once again rushed up. Lu Su swung the shovel in his hand around in a clean, swift sweep. That head of Zhang Hao's was sent flying out with a peng like a polo ball, and it arced through the air, before falling beyond the garden wall. Speedily, Lu Su dodged a swipe of its arms, only to see that sludge was continuing to spew out poisonous miasma as it spun around wildly, trying to cut off his escape route. But Lu Su was even faster. With a shovel and a slash, another shovel and a slash, in the blink of an eye, he had already repeated those motions almost 10 times. It sent the sludge flying into the air, tossing all of it out of the garden. Lu Su shouted loudly, "Hung Jun!" Still holding that shovel, Lu Su looked around at his surroundings, his eyes filled with horror. He didn't know what to do right now. After searching his thoughts for a moment, he slung the shovel over his shoulder and rushed back into the hall to check on Geshuhan and his wife. The snowstorm gusted all around as the Carpiao, at a quick trot, slipped into the battle formation of the corpse ghosts that fell in battle. Suddenly, the sound of armor clanking came from the distance. When the Carpiao turned to look, it saw that the corpse ghosts seemed to be moving. It immediately toppled over onto the ground, its tail wiggling a few times before it stopped moving entirely, playing dead. The rotting warhorses carried several patrolling guards from the back of the formation through its midst as they patrolled the area. After the guards passed by, the Carpiao once again sneakily trotted through the formation of the corpse ghosts, arriving at the foot of the mountain. A commander sat tall astride a large horse, standing tall in the icy wind, his body covered in snowflakes. The Carpiao ducked behind a rock before peeping out half of its fish head, its eye fixed on that general. The commander undid the sword at his waist. There were 5 holes bored into the body, and when the wind blew over them, they let out faint weng-weng sounds. The sounds were low and dark, just like the strange deep roar of the beast that Hung Jun and Li Jinglong had heard that day. Black energy emanated from the general's entire body, wrapping around the sword like flames. With every vibration, the sound spread out in wave after wave. Below the city wall, Li Jinglong and Hung Jun suddenly heard the strange sound. With it the great army in the distance began to move at a glacial pace. "What's wrong?" Hung Jun began to grow nervous. At the same time, wild shouts came from behind, from Liangzhou city. Something seemed to have changed in the city. Li Jinglong hurried to clamber to his feet. Just as he was hesitating, the Carpiao returned, saying, "I've found that guy." The Carpiao described all that it had seen. After listening to its account, Li Jinglong said, "Damn, something's happened in the city, and they're going to mount an attack from both within and without." Quickly, the formation began to move. Li Jinglong indicated that Hung Jun quickly follow, and Hung Jun raced after him, asking quietly, "What about inside the city?" "First let's take care of the outside," Li Jinglong said. "Zhao Zilong, lead the way." In that moment, the great corpse ghost formation began to move, one row after the other. The two of them sped along the creek. When they got to the outskirts of the grove, Hung Jun tied ropes to his throwing knives, before tossing out 2 of them in a crisscross fashion, which immediately dragged a foot soldier back. Li Jinglong immediately took one knee to the ground and pressed his palm against that corpse ghost's body, releasing the glow of the heart lamp. It was only a single flash, but that incessantly struggling corpse ghost grew still, forcibly exorcised by the strong light. Right after, Hung Jun repeated the same motions he had before, pulling another soldier towards them. The light flashed again. Li Jinglong picked up long military spears, tossing one to Hung Jun, before the two of them worriedly peered into the distance from the cover of the trees. Taking advantage of the large infantry formation passing by, they lifted their spears and dashed out, blending into the formation. The voice in the distance changed again, and the corpse ghost king stood high on the snowy hill, the sword in his hand vibrating with sound. The foot soldiers circled around like a long, coiling dragon as they took their places. The cavalry spread out in a straight line, gathering near the hill. Hung Jun was completely lost, thinking, how exactly do these corpse ghosts know which direction to move in? Going left for a bit, then right for a bit more. It was only after he ran for a while that he realized, damn, in this pitch-black night with no light to see by, Li Jinglong's disappeared. Just as he was searching his surroundings, a hand suddenly reached out from behind him and dragged him into the midst of the foot soldiers. Hung Jun was so frightened that he almost let out a loud shout, but Li Jinglong said, "It's me." Li Jinglong grabbed him, turning left and right with the rest of the foot soldiers. With a few repeats, they sunk ever deeper into the center of that large formation. Hung Jun though, no way, this kind of maze-like formation, how exactly did you manage to find your way through? And you didn't get noticed by the corpse ghosts. But he wasn't aware that before, Li Jinglong had participated in the training drills of the 6 armies. The fierce tiger formation, the coiling snake formation, the eagle wing formation. He already knew them like the back of his hand. As soon as he saw the circling of the foot soldiers, he knew that the corpse ghost king was using the coiling snake formation on the inside, and the Akala formation on the outside. The two of them kept approaching that snowy hill. Right then, there was the sound of metal striking metal, and all of the foot soldiers came to a halt. Hung Jun almost tripped and fell, but Li Jinglong had long since expected it. He knew that they were about to halt, so he reached out a hand to steady Hung Jun, helping him stand up straight. The two of them lifted their long spears. Standing in the perfect spot right behind the snowy hill, they could already clearly make out the corpse ghost king's silhouette in the distance. The cavalry in the front formation all lifted their battle halberds at the same time, pointing them towards the distant Liangzhou city. A glow of flame seemed to appear in the city, dyeing the darkness of the night sky red. Hung Jun felt a stab of shock. What exactly had happened in Liangzhou city? However, when he turned to look at Li Jinglong sent him a long and meaningful glance filled with menace. In that instant, Hung Jun understood his meaning: do not get distracted. They had to capture the corpse ghost king in order to have a chance at changing the tides of this battle. At this time, up high, the king of the corpse ghosts that fell in battle lifted the long sword in his hand. Black flames suddenly burst forth from it, and it echoed with a roar like that of a dragon's. In front of them, that 50,000 corpse ghost cavalry began to charge ahead as one, sending up stunning flurries of powdery snow. Like the beat of a god's drums, their horses' hooves slammed heavily against the ground, sending up wave after wave of tremors. That scene was immensely breathtaking, and though Hung Jun had crossed blades with the corpse ghosts last time, he had never seen the majesty of these 50,000 troops charging all at once. It seemed to be nearly enough to even level the entirety of Liangzhou city. As soon as the cavalry charged, the foot soldiers followed behind like the tide. Li Jinglong raised his long spear, charging at the front, with Hung Jun following close behind. The foot soldiers split into two flanks as they streamed around the snowy hill, but Li Jinglong rushed up the hill on foot. The corpse ghost king instantly sensed their ambush, and with a swift motion, he turned to face Hung Jun and Li Jinglong. At the same time, Li Jinglong had already pulled out the sword of wisdom and leapt into the air. With a bellow, he sent the sword stabbing towards the king of the corpse ghosts. In Liangzhou city, Zhang Hao had already given up on chasing Lu Su, deciding not to provoke him any longer. He turned into a monster made of mud, growing larger and larger as he engulfed nearly all the riders that rushed over to help, swallowing more and more people as he spat out their armor and weapons. Just like this, he arrogantly arrived at the city gates. These gates had been destroyed by Hung Jun not too long ago, and even today, the wooden construction poles were still erected around them. The surrounding soldiers lost their courage and backed away, and Zhang Hao's body appeared out of that puddle of mud, a savage smile on his face. "Open the gates." The guards didn't dare go up. Right then, Zhang Hao released that poisonous miasma again, and with a roar, the city gates were flooded with it. The soldiers were enveloped from head to toe in that fog, and they all collapsed one after the other. The city was in utter chaos, and fires rose all around. Outside the city, thousands of riders and horses charged towards the city gates. In that single moment that the corpse ghost king had swiftly turned around, Li Jinglong, his hands wrapped around the sword of wisdom, let out a loud roar and leapt into the air, bringing the sword down onto the corpse ghost king's head. Instantly, the corpse ghost king lifted his sword to block, and the sword of wisdom clanged heavily into that sword with wind holes. A dang echoed out, billowing in all directions. Hung Jun rushed up right after, his four throwing knives all shooting through the air, nailing the helmet of the corpse ghost king. With a dang, they took the helmet right off his head. The instant the helmet hit the ground, the corpse ghost king's long locks drifted in the wind. The rest of his body was still clad in black armor as he stood on the ridge, snow flurries dancing around him, and at the sight, Hung Jun was taken aback. He had originally thought that this guy was a hideous monster, but he hadn't expected his facial features to be no different from that of a normal human's. His skin had a faint tinge of grayish blue to it, but as soon as his helmet fell off, he revealed himself to actually be a handsome, gallant man. The foot soldiers that had rushed out all came to a stop, turning their heads to watch the corpse ghost king standing on the high ground. Yet, the ghost king wasn't at all afraid of their ambush. With a mere lift and wave of his hand, the riders in the front and the foot soldiers behind once again charged forward. A good opportunity. Li Jinglong thought. He was actually this arrogant. With that, he once again raised the sword of wisdom, which glowed with light, turning into silhouettes of swords that covered the sky as he sped towards the ghost king. But the ghost king used the wind sword to block rapidly, equal in skill to Li Jinglong's prowess. Watch out! Li Jinglong did a flip and landed on the ground, only to see the corpse ghost king rush towards Hung Jun. One of the ghost king's fists came slamming heavily down towards Hung Jun, who immediately put up the pentacolor sacred light and used it as a shield to block the blow. That punch had enough power to send the heavens crashing down, and its force slammed into Hung Jun and the light together, sending them both sliding back. His feet dragged out 2 gouges in the snow as he slid almost 10 paces away, tripping over and falling solidly on the ground. That single strike had enough power to split a mountain, and Hung Jun was so shaken by it that he coughed up blood. He struggled to his feet, only to see the ghost king turn to rush towards Li Jinglong. It was at this instant that Li Jinglong realized the ghost king was not arrogant, but rather wholly unafraid of the two of them. As soon as Hung Jun saw the ghost king's fist heading towards Li Jinglong's face, he let out a cry of horror. But at that moment, Li Jinglong, in exchange for taking a possible blow to the face, lifted the sword of wisdom in his right hand to block, as his left snaked out from under the sword to press against the corpse ghost king's chest. With a hong, the light of the heart lamp exploded outwards. At the same time, that fist of the ghost king's had already collided with Li Jinglong's face. Hung Jun couldn't save him in time. After only rushing up 2 steps, he heard the crisp noise of bones snapping. Right after, under that blinding light, the corpse ghost king let out a wild roar as that white light exploded inside him. Black energy exploded out of his entire body, and he fell backwards. Blood vessels had burst in Li Jinglong's eye, and he fell heavily down the snowy slope. In that instant, the wind sword left the ghost king's hand. The Carpio had hidden itself for a long time, and upon seeing this opportunity, it shot out like an arrow. Leaping into the air, it caught the sword in its hands, shouting, "Got it?" Hung Jun hollered, "Zenchi dash." Hung Jun rushed up to stop his fall, completely unheeding of that ghost king as he hurriedly pulled out the pills and fed one to Li Jinglong. Li Jinglong's nose had been beaten bloody, and it was now spurting out blood as he lay there unconscious. On the other side of the hill, the king of the corpse ghosts managed to stand up shakily, wobbling from side to side as it searched for his sword. After Li Jinglong had been fed the pill, he woke up and struggled to rise, saying, "Grab the sword." The Carpiao, carrying that sword, ran a little bit away, and Hung Jun shouted, "Quick, make the corpse ghosts stop." "How do I make them stop? How do I make them stop?" The Carpiao turned its head to look towards the great army gathered in front of the city gates. At this time, the corpse ghost cavalry had already charged towards the gates, only to see that the gates swiftly opened of their own accord, so the riders shot in with almost no resistance at all. "Hey!" The Carpiao, still facing the army in the distance, waved that sword with great effort, shouting, "Ha!" As expected, not even half a corpse ghost paid it any attention. Hung Jun looked back at those city gates, only to see that the corpse ghost king was now beginning to chase the Carpiao, and he shouted, "Run first. Figure it out later. He's chasing you." When the Carpiao turned its head back to look, it immediately grabbed that sword and began to madly run for its life. Since the corpse ghost king had been struck by Li Jinglong's heart lamp, his Yao power seemed to have dissipated. In an unsteady manner, it turned its head when it realized that Hung Jun and Li Jinglong were the true important enemies. With a few more steps, it charged towards the two of them. Hung Jun made a decision on the spot and shoved Li Jinglong away, crying, "Come at me." One single punch from the king of the corpse ghosts could level an entire mountain, so Hung Jun didn't dare to fight him with brute force. He could only lead him in circles around the snowy hill, while Li Jinglong searched everywhere for his sword of wisdom that had fallen somewhere on this snowy ground. Just as the corpse ghost king put all his effort into sprinting, his speed rising once again, Hung Jun leapt into the air. Bringing his four knives together again, he turned them into the glaive, which he used to slice down fiercely at the ghost king. As quick as a flash of lightning, the corpse ghost king's speed was actually even faster now, and with a turn of its head, it dodged that blow. A few of its black hairs were shorn, and they drifted to land on the snowy ground below as behind him, the hill was cleaved into two by that single slice. One half came sliding down, and soon after, the ghost king sent another punch, aimed straight at the glaive. Hung Jun was in midair. With nowhere to kick off, he could only flick the glaive in his hand. With a shua, the glaive once again split apart, turning back into four throwing knives that flew out, made a U-turn, and came back around. They didn't seek to damage the ghost king's body. Rather, with a few clangs, they split off all of the buckles and fasteners on his armor. When the ghost king leapt into the air, all of the armor on his body was left behind. As soon as his body lightened, Hung Jun shrank into himself and slid by past his lower back, and with a flip, he trod on the ghost king's spine. The two of them once again split apart, brushing past each other as they went. That move had used up all of the skills that Hung Jun possessed. Li Jinglong found the sword of wisdom, and with an angry war cry, he once again came running towards the ghost king. The ghost king's armor had basically all fallen off, leaving behind a set of black and red martial robes. The moment the two of them passed each other, Hung Jun made another move, calling all of the throwing knives back. They once again turned into the glaive, and as they merged together, he rushed forth again. The ghost king watched Hung Jun, his expression completely impassive. With a shua, he turned into a shadow, and Hung Jun thought, "Damn it, this bastard's speed isn't inferior to Lu Su's." Li Jinglong rushed up, only for the ghost king to change his punch into a kick. In the air, that move flipped Li Jinglong over and sent him flying straight out. Even with several hacks and slashes of Hung Jun's glaive, the blade was unable to approach his body, and under that hail of sword shadows, that bastard ghost king actually managed to step forward, flicking the glaive once. With a whang, half of Hung Jun's body went numb from that wave of true qi. The glaive immediately left his hands, and he took a foot solidly to the chest. He coughed up the contents of his stomach and landed heavily in the snow. The ghost king lifted his hand and caught the glaive, no longer looking at Hung Jun. He only turned, still holding the blade, walking towards Li Jinglong. One of Li Jinglong's hands was behind his back, gathering the power of the heart lamp. Even if he was putting his life on the line, he would still give the Ghost King a nice big flash of light. Hung Jun lay on his side in the snow, struggling ceaselessly, rolling back and forth. His chest was in great pain where that kick had landed, as if a heavy weight had slammed into it all at once. The Ghost King slowly walked towards Li Jinglong, whose eyes widened upon seeing that he held Hung Jun's glaive in his hand, the tip of which was pointed towards Li Jinglong. Upon seeing that scene, Hung Jun gritted his teeth, expanded the pentacolor sacred light. With a great roar, he shouted, "Zhenqi dash!" In the next instant, as Qing Xiang had taught him, Hung Jun first sent out the pentacolor sacred light, which enveloped that half of the snowy hill that had been cut down by him before. That snowy hill was actually formed from the black rocks hidden within the frozen soil, and a single boulder was easily some tens of thousands of jin. Immediately, he then flipped around, using the last of his strength to shout, "Dodge!" Li Jinglong immediately dropped to the ground and rolled away. Just as the Ghost King turned his head, the pentacolor sacred light dragged that massive boulder along, which rumbled as it rolled over the ground, smashing down onto his head. With a huge boom, flurries of snow exploded outwards. The Ghost King couldn't dodge in time, and he was crushed under the huge rock. Hung Jun. Li Jinglong. A great pain came from Li Jinglong's chest, and the blood from his nosebleed trickled down, dripping onto the snow. Hung Jun panted out, I had no other choice, I was afraid that you'd die. If we don't manage to get the antidote." Li Jinglong waved his hand. "I didn't expect him to be this difficult to defeat." Their gazes met, and Hung Jun continued, "Let me rest a bit, then I'll move the rock aside." Li Jinglong turned his head to gaze in the direction of the distant city gates. There were actually no guards standing on top of the city walls, so something must have happened inside. "We've got to hurry up," Li Jinglong said. "Where's Zhao Zilong?" The Carpiao hugged that sword, and seeing that the Ghost King had been defeated, slipped back in as quickly as it had left. It stood there, quivering non-stop, as it said, "If you keep crushing it like this, no matter what Yaogwai it is, it'll be crushed to death ba." But just as they were speaking, that huge boulder actually began to vibrate and loosen itself from its position, rocking back and forth. The Carpiao was so frightened that its soul left its body, and it shouted, "Damn it dash!" Hung Jun cried, "What should we do?" At the same time, Li Jinglong shouted, "Zhao Zilong! The Lihun Pollen! The Carpiao!" Just as that huge boulder was about to be bodily lifted by the corpse ghost, Li Jinglong sent the Carpiao flying in that direction with a kick as he shouted, "Hung Jun, gather up all the snow in the area. Fill it in." The Carpiao didn't have any spare time to call for help. It scattered the Lihun pollen in its little satchel, shouting, "Don't." The Lihun pollen dispersed. The corpse ghost king was currently lifting that huge boulder, but when he suddenly sniffed it, he let out an earth-shaking sneeze. Achoo! With this sneeze, the huge boulder was once again loosened, and it came crashing down again. Hung Jun had already spread out the pentacolor sacred light with both his hands, and at this time he furiously filled in the center with all the excess snow piled around. Li Jinglong then shouted, "Fire!" With the godly warding light in his left hand, Hung Jun made a roaring flame dragon appear from his right, which circled around the snow gathered up around the boulder. The snow instantly melted, and Li Jinglong then shouted, "Snow!" The snow even further outwards sped in rapidly, turning into ice and crushing down layer after layer, and finally the movement under the boulder stopped. The world finally calmed. Li Jinglong was still on guard, but when he exchanged a glance with Hung Jun sat down bonelessly, thinking, just now, in that short moment, if Li Jinglong hadn't reacted so quickly, then we probably would have been screwed again. Li Jinglong came over to inspect his wounds, and Hung Jun was of the same mind. Both of them had incurred a few internal injuries, and after panting for a moment on the snowy ground, Li Jinglong picked up the sword in the Carpiao's hands, studying it closely. The snowstorm stopped. Liangzhou city was already in utter chaos, and panicked cries issued from within. Li Jinglong said, "Quick!" Near the city gates of Liangzhou, the corpse ghost riders had already rushed in. Li Jinglong and Hung Jun spurred their horses, dragging along a huge block of ice inside of which was frozen the king of the corpse ghosts, as they rushed towards the city gates. The main street was a scene of chaos. Fires had started in various places, and many of the riders were fighting individual battles. A huge pile of mud was in the middle of the street, letting out a loud, vicious laugh. "What is that dash?" Hung Jun was greatly shaken. The Carpiao said hesitantly, that is. You've seen it before?" Li Jinglong asked doubtfully from his position high up on the city watchtower. "Nope," the Carpiao responded. "The two of them." Li Jinglong slid the sword of wisdom back into its sheath, holding the wind sword in his hand. He furrowed his brows as he studied it, before asking, "What is the sound for retreat?" Hung Jun hurried to say, "Try it out, ba. Stop worrying." Li Jinglong steeled his heart, before sending the heart lamp's power into the wind sword. He black chi along the wind sword was instantly exorcised, replaced by a white light, and with a weng it began to sound. It was like a whistle breaking through the stillness of a calm night, piercingly shrill. The corpse ghost riders turned their heads back to look before all gathering along the main street, forming ranks, preparing to charge towards the city lord's manor. "No, no," Hung Jun said. "Not that one." Li Jinglong hurried to use a different hole, before using the power of the heart lamp to create a sound from it. The corpse ghost army changed their formation, standing in two neat rows on either side of the street. That's right," Hung Jun said. "Now have them retreat out of the city." Li Jinglong then tried to get the corpse ghosts to change their formation. By now, the slaughter had already ceased, and the soldiers in the city all gathered outside the city lord's manor. That pile of mud turned and gazed towards the heights of the city gates. "Zenchi, hurry and tell them to kill that Yaoguai," Hung Jun continued. "If you can, then you do it." Li Jinglong threw up his hands. "I haven't even figured out how to use this sword." Hung Jun hurried to wave his hand, he couldn't do it. Li Jinglong, from within the mud appeared half of Zhang Hao's body, which let out a hoarse cry. "You've wrecked my plans again." Li Jinglong stared at Zhang Hao, saying darkly, "I never would have expected that such a disaster would have been caused by a spy. What exactly are your motives?" Zhang Hao laughed coldly. "Even if you hold the general's sword, it's of no use. You think defeating Lu Fei means the end of your troubles." Hung Jun grew nervous and spread open the pentacolor sacred light in his hand, when suddenly he saw Lu Su appear behind the soldiers guarding the general's estate, staring anxiously at that pile of mud. As soon as he saw Lu Su, Hung Jun calmed, at least this proved that Emorigin wasn't in danger. Poisonous miasma issued forth from every inch of Zhang Hao's body, and Li Jinglong, upon seeing its posture and its movements, guessed more or less that it was a Yaoguai that emitted poison. There wouldn't be the time to interrogate it properly for a little while, they had to get rid of it first. With that, he spun the wind sword, which began to emit white light. With a weng and a bright flash, the wind sword began to take effect. When the corpse ghosts received the signal, they all rushed towards that mud monster. It worked. Hung Jun exclaimed, happily surprised. All of the corpse ghosts that had spread out through the city turned around, gathering along the main street of Liangzhou city. Those that shot arrows, those that charged, and Zhang Hao, evidently unable to handle these dead people, dodged in every direction, but it had already been surrounded in the midst of the corpse ghosts that fell in battle. Li Jinglong, sword in hand, turned around, all of his attention focused on waving the wind sword back and forth. The sound of the wind sword grew louder and louder, and all of the corpse ghosts in the city gathered, before charging in one majestic wave out of the city gates. The mud monster that Zhang Hao had turned into dashed away as it let out strange cries, a 10,000-strong corpse ghost army following behind it, racing madly across the plains outside the city. "Close the city gates!" Li Jinglong called. The soldiers let out deafening cheers as they hurried to lift the city gates. Hung Jun swiftly raced to the corner of the city tower, only to see the corpse ghost troop in dead pursuit. It was daybreak now, and they chased that monster, vanishing into the horizon. At midday, the sun cast its light over the entirety of the city, the interior of which was almost all rubble after that large battle. The troops that had left the city in pursuit of the monster had also gone who knows where, and since Li Jinglong urgently needed to determine the truth of the entire matter, he didn't send any men to give chase. A head count of all the troops in the city revealed that thankfully, their losses were not large. After that, he arranged for a large portion of the troops to guard the city gates, before ordering others to drag that huge ice cube containing that frozen king of the corpse ghosts into the general's estate. The entire matter, from beginning to end, was a patch of confusing fog. The one truth could only be determined from this Yaogwai commander. The old madam had also fallen ill after the events of last night. In the front hall of the estate, the guards came and went, pouring a little more water on that frozen ice to prevent the corpse ghost king from suddenly breaking free. What exactly happened? Hung Jun asked Lu Su, after checking over Emorigin. Thankfully, nothing had happened to him. Lu Su only looked at Hung Jun with an expression of rage, meaning, "Yesterday I called for you for so long, but you weren't even there?" End chapter.